This is the Business Files. Behind every business decision lies an investigation worth reopening.
Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here, because today we're diving into one of the most wild business turnarounds in modern history. We're looking at Lego. It's a brand absolutely synonymous with childhood imagination and creativity. But what we're going to explore today is how this totally beloved, trusted titan of the toy industry nearly orchestrated its own complete destruction. We'll be zeroing in on the complexity effect, their ultimate strategy to recover from financial disaster, and the vital key learnings we can all take away from it.
26%. Think about that for a second. In 2003, Lego lost more than a quarter of its sales in a single year. The company behind literally one of the most recognizable toys on Earth was suddenly bleeding cash, completely losing control of its operations and running out of time fast. Executives were scrambling, and industry observers were legitimately questioning whether this iconic brand was even going to survive.
So how does a business built on literal simplicity become totally trapped by complexity? The hidden truth behind this near-fatal collapse wasn't some fierce new competitor, it wasn't shifting consumer tastes, and it wasn't video games either. The problem, as a really disturbing realization began to emerge internally, was Lego itself.
To figure out how they broke their own brilliant formula, let's rewind real quick. Back in 1932, a carpenter named Ole Kirk Christensen founded this modest workshop in the small Danish town of Billund. He started out just carving wooden toys, including those famous little wooden pull-along ducks. 2 years later, he adopts the name Lego, which comes from the Danish phrase "leg godt," meaning play well. Fast forward to 1958, they patent a modern plastic brick design. And then by 1978, bam, the iconic yellow minifigure is introduced. These were the brilliant, foundational steps that completely set this toy maker apart.
Driving all of this early innovation was one very simple philosophy: only the best is good enough. And for Ole Kirk Christensen, this wasn't just some catchy PR slogan, it was a hard standard. While other manufacturers were just churning out cheap, isolated products, Lego shifted towards something way more profound. They focused entirely on creating high-quality toys that actually encouraged a child's imagination, rather than prescribing exactly how they were supposed to play.
The ultimate result of this mindset was what they called the system of play. It's essentially this connected ecosystem where every new set works with previous sets, creating endless combinations. The modern plastic brick wasn't just a standalone toy. Every time you bought a new set, you increased the value of your previous ones. The more pieces a kid owned, the more possibilities existed. This incredibly efficient, interconnected system became Lego's absolute greatest competitive advantage.
And honestly, throughout the 1980s and 90s, this repeatable formula of simplicity built an absolute empire. Lego experienced unstoppable growth. Parents everywhere universally trusted the brand. Teachers were praising its educational value. Kids were obsessed with the diverse universes they could build. They were highly respected because they weren't just selling cheap entertainment. They were literally selling imagination. From the outside looking in, Lego seemed completely unstoppable.
But as we all know, success changes everything, right? It often creates its own hidden dangers. As a new digital era approached in the late 90s, with video games, PCs, and the internet completely reshaping how kids spent their time, panic kind of set in at Lego. What if the next generation stopped playing with physical bricks? So instead of sticking to their highly efficient system of play, executives hit the panic button. They decided they needed to transform into a diversified entertainment brand, aggressively pushing into publishing, clothing, theme parks, and all sorts of media projects.
And here's where that strategy hit a massive operational wall: 12,000. As Lego rapidly expanded into these new media-heavy lines, like that frankly bizarre-looking 2002 multimedia franchise Galador, they accumulated a staggering 12,000 unique, specialized pieces. 12,000! A project like Galador relied heavily on these huge specialized parts that had almost zero compatibility with the traditional building system. They were completely abandoning the core system of compatibility that made them so resilient in the first place.
This is a textbook example of the complexity effect. Every single expansion choice carried a massive, hidden operational consequence. Those specialized parts, they created absolute manufacturing chaos. The endless new themes totally broke the supply chain. And creating thousands of unique element molds introduced severe forecasting risk. The entire business became incredibly hard to manage. Every single additional piece they introduced just layered on extra cost, extra uncertainty, and extra risk.
And in 2003, the brutal reality finally hit. Revenue plummeted dramatically. dropping from roughly 11.4 billion Danish kroner down to about 8.4 billion. Decades of success, rich history, universal brand recognition, none of it offered any protection from this fall. You see, growth had been hiding their complexity problem for years, but when that growth finally stalled, the sheer weight of their sprawling operations pushed this beloved brand to the absolute brink of bankruptcy.
So we arrive at this totally critical contradiction. Why was a business built on one of the most successful product systems in history suddenly failing? That was the exact question industry observers and those panicked executives were scrambling to answer as they literally fought for survival. The organization was suffocating under the immense weight of its own operational complexity, and they desperately needed an accurate diagnosis. Well, that diagnosis didn't come from some expensive outside consultant or a fierce competitor. Enter Jørgen Vig Knudstorp, the 35-year-old reformer. This young, unlikely executive steps right up in the middle of this absolute firestorm. While a lot of companies in distress search for a bold new strategy or some flashy acquisition, Knudstorp correctly diagnosed the real issue. He argued that LEGO didn't need to reinvent itself into something new, actually they just needed to become themselves again. So, to pull off this turnaround, Knudstorp introduced a completely unglamorous but totally vital survival strategy. Number 1, review projects and halt the sprawl. 2, target and systematically remove complexity. And 3, go back to the brick. Knudstorp realized that before LEGO could even think about confidently building its future, it first had to regain strict control of its present through relentless simplification. Focus absolutely had to win over expansion.
Management went in and ruthlessly slashed their inventory. Remember that staggering 12,000 unique pieces we talked about? They chucked out over 5,000 of them, committing to keeping fewer than 7,000 elements in total. This dramatic simplification was a game changer. It instantly eased manufacturing pressure. It made daily operations reliable again. Suddenly, actually understanding the core business was no longer this overwhelming, impossible challenge.
And the recovery results speak for themselves. By boldly returning to what they do better than anyone else on the planet, they fully restored their operational discipline. Manufacturing became streamlined and so much easier to manage. They gained better inventory control and finally had reliable forecasting. By recentering the entire company on the system of play, building, and actual creativity, they put LEGO definitively back on the path to profitability. Simplicity wasn't just a theory here, it was the ultimate solution. So, if we look at the key learnings here, it all boils down to this. This was a failure of focus, not a failure of innovation. LEGO didn't almost collapse because it failed to change. No, it almost collapsed because it changed way too much. They drifted entirely away from the foundational principles that made their system so powerful to begin with. And I really want you to think about that as you apply this to your own life, your team, or your business. LEGO saved itself by remembering the incredible power of simplicity. So, looking at your own projects right now, are you genuinely innovating or are you just adding 12,000 extra pieces you don't actually need? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.